Good morning. Welcome to Sunday Civics. My name is Tom Christie. Thanks for tuning in. Always the best hour of my week. I hope it is for you. We have talked all year. We've been at this 1 year now publicly, and we always talk that civics is far more than government. In fact, government should be a very small part of it. What makes a society run? What makes specifically Niagara Falls run? So we're investigating that from all kinds of angles. Unfortunately, we've done a lot of government because the elections happen and we talk to people and the budgets come out, and that's how it goes. They're hot things. But we're going to get back to more real people from the community, hopefully, in the next few weeks. One of the people and one of the organizations that I've wanted to talk about for months has been the Salvation Army. I know a little bit about it, but I'm not going to even try and explain it because we have somebody that will. But the Salvation Army, certainly. Imagine you get your job. We had somebody on last week, domestic violence, and fantastic person doing a great job. The job is you get paid by the government to help this cause, and you don't do it for money. It's a passion, but you do get paid. Imagine you get sent to a community and you're not going to really get paid. You're going to have a salary, but you have to go raise all your own money to pay yourself and then help the entire community. That's a commitment. That's a commitment that's different from most that we have. So without further ado, let me bring in, I believe it's Captain, or anyway, it's Steve Carroll. Steve, how do we refer to you? Major Steve Carroll, I think, right?
It is Major, but that just means we're getting older. So I'd be happy to be Captain still.
I see. Well, I know a bit about Salvation Army, but maybe you can give me a quick update on what Salvation Army is, or give everybody else an update. What is the Salvation Army technically?
Absolutely. The Salvation Army was started by a Methodist minister about 155 years ago. He was in London, England, and he was bringing coal miners into the church. And in the context of Victorian England, his church people got together and had a meeting, and they decided they didn't want him bringing the coal miners into the church. They were dirty. Their shoes damaged the floors. They had hand-cobbled shoes. And his wife, Catherine, stood up in a time where women didn't speak in the church, and she said never, and the two of them walked out together. Not long afterwards, he was asked to lead some meetings at the East End Mission in London. The East End Mission quickly asked him to take over, and the East End Mission became the Salvation Army. It became the Christian Mission, then the Salvation Army. And within just a few short years, it was all over the world. Now the Salvation Army is in 133 countries. We've been here in Niagara Falls for 131 years.
But it is a religion, actually, or tied to a religion? I mean, what's the connection to faith-based?
It is a church. It is 100% a church. Our beliefs are very similar to the Methodist Church or the Nazarenes or the holiness movement. So there's a lot of us that kind of fit in the same belief system. The big difference for us is that we take Matthew 25 seriously when it says, when you did this to the least of these, you were doing it to me. And we feel that we've been called to serve our neighbors in everything that we do, and we take that very seriously.
So aside from being faith-based are organized. So the Salvation Army, I was walking through Philadelphia a couple months ago, and there was a huge school, like the School of Salvation Army, where you must have been taught, or other people, or what's the organizational component of the Salvation Army? Because it's nationwide. Oh, is it worldwide? You just said.
Yeah. Worldwide, we're in 133 countries. Our international headquarters is actually in London, England. It is set up very much like an army structure. In the earliest days, as I mentioned, the earliest members of the Salvation Army were rejected by the church. They weren't wanted. So William Booth said to them, well, fine, we won't call ourselves a church. We'll call ourselves an army. I'll be the general. You can be the soldiers, and that's how we'll do it. And so very early on, they adopted militaristic structure. So when I was ordained, I became a lieutenant. And then a few years in, they made me a captain, and then they made me a major. And that's as far as I'll ever go, because it's based on years of service up until you hit a major. After that, you have to make people happy.
Well, so, but what I think of, you already said you take this section of Matthew seriously. I think of Salvation Army more as a very proactive helping organization. I mean, it seems to lose the faith component for me on the street, because I only think of Salvation Army because they help everybody. How did it get to be that aggressively, proactively helpful in a good way?
Sure. The Salvation Army and our mission statement is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and meet human needs in his name without discrimination. That's what we've had for some 30 years. And before that, it was very similar. William Booth, very early on, was very evangelistic. He wanted people to hear the message that he had to say. And he realized that hungry people weren't interested in his message. They were interested in getting fed. And he coined the term soup, soap, and salvation. And he said, before I can worry about this spiritual message, I need to focus on soup and soap. I need to give people dignity and help feed them and help them take care of their family and get them to a point where they're willing to listen to my message. In sociological terms, we talk about earning the right to be heard. You have an obligation before you start attacking people with a message to really and truly care about their situation.
Well, that's never going to work. No, I'm just kidding. Well, so how do we help? Because so again, say it's faith-based. I don't see the Catholic Church or anyone else standing in front of my Rite Aid with a big red kettle. That's what I've seen all my life. I grew up like that. It's been in movies. It was in The Godfather the other day, right? There's a scene where they walk past a store in the red kettle. So it's ingrained in American culture. The kettles have gone away for a while now. But I mean, how do we, what's that vision? How do I help? How do I find out more? That kettle was pretty cool. It was always there. I mean, it was in my face and I was able to do it. How do I do it now?
Well, I love the kettle, and we're still there. I mean, people may not have noticed it because some people don't go out. They shop online more and things like that. But there's something special about Christmas time and dropping the buck in the red pot. People acknowledge that. To me, on the other end, there's something special because I raise all of my funds, almost 2/3 of my funds are raised for the entire year in single $1 bills at Red Kettles. It's hard money earned, but there's something special about it. I'm not picking up grants from the government, so I don't care what it's not a big concern about what the government needs us to do and restrictions and limitations because we're free. Because we've taken the money directly from people in $1 increments. There's something special about it. Something special. If everyone in Niagara County were to make a $1 donation at a Red Kettle, my entire kettle effort would be done in a day. Mm-hmm. I don't think people realize just how simple the whole process really could be. Now, we've had to get fancy. We've got all of the electronic pays now, the PayPal and all of that. I've even got my fancy QR code that I hang up. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to having those little kids drop a few coins in or really listening. Sometimes what we do on the kettle is what I would call sacred work. I grew up listening to World War I and II vets come up to the kettle and tell me about how the Salvation Army took care of them in France and overseas. And those were special stories. It wasn't just someone telling me a war story. Anyone who knows kind of the old time vets know that they don't tell those stories very easily. They hold those close. And when they would share that with me, it was a special experience. And I'm grateful to have received so many of them at the side of a Red Kettle.
Again, how can I find how to help most quickly? Because I might not proactively go find it again. I tripped on that Red Kettle on the way in and saw it, I mean, you almost need to hit me over the head because everybody's busy. So how do you hit me over the head lately? Because, I want to help more. I mean, all of us need to help more.
Sure. Well, you've got people watching this right on Facebook. That's kind of my outlet to the world. The Salvation Army of Niagara at Facebook.com or at Facebook. I have a couple of friends who are comedians in Rochester and Pennsylvania and Philly. They come up each year and make videos for me to really hit people over the head with the message of the kettle. And so we've got those all throughout the Salvation Army of Niagara Falls on Facebook. Just go there, click over there for a few minutes after the show, and watch some of the videos, and then you can make a donation right on Facebook.
What are some of the things that Salvation Army does that, I'm aware of some, but wouldn't be aware of others?
If you think the most basic of needs, so when COVID struck, we were already doing a bread distribution every Thursday. Well, bread distribution turned into full-on food distribution, where we were giving people toilet paper and soap and whatever needed at that point. So every Thursday to this day, we do a Thursday food distribution in addition to our food pantry that we have 5 days a week. In addition to our community garden, that this year we set a record. We had a 6 month worth of harvest, so that every day for 6 months we were able to give food directly from our community garden. A lot of times when you get food from a food pantry, it's canned food. It's full of salt. It's not good for you, but it's what we get for free, so we give it away. To be able to do a community garden means we can give away healthier, fresh food. And it was a real honor to be able to do that and to grow that. We also help people with utilities. We help people with their rent. We were a big part most recently, the ERAP program that was put out by the government. Occasionally we do get involved when we feel it's important enough. So we did ERAP outreach and helped people who due to COVID hadn't paid all of their rent, and we were able to support them through that by helping them find the right people and fill out the forms properly. So we do all of the basic needs: food, clothing, shelter. That's what we do.
Now, I always like to envision that we're the wealthiest country in the world, and we could do anything we want. Money's really not our problem. And we should build, a Shangri-La here, but I know that you work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, basically helping people. So how do we eliminate all need? How do we create this place that your book that you follow says we can get to? How do we do that? I really want to do that in my lifetime.
Well, you called on my book. In Psalm 144, David says, "Praise be the Lord my God, who trains my hands for battle and my fingers for war." It's something that we do have to fight for. The idea that the resources are all there is true, but there are all kinds of problems, and it's not there is no easy solution. It's something we have to fight for. It's something we call on each other to support ourselves for, and we get so caught up in our own mess sometimes. I really do appreciate Niagara Falls. We aren't the only game in town. There are a lot of great agencies. We work hard with St. John de La Salle down the street from us, and Heart, Love, and Soul, and all these other great community agencies. And if we thought we could do it by ourselves, it would never get done. Yeah. It really is about teaming up and working with every organization who's willing to step up.
You've worked in 5 different stations, right? You in the Salvation Army, you get moved around periodically, right? By design. Is Niagara Falls better, worse, or there's just the same as every other place in the world?
Every place has its own idiosyncrasies. My first appointment was Staten Island, New York. It was
little glitch and technical here. Steve, I lost you for a second.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear your audio now. Your video's frozen, but I can hear your audio.
Okay. I'm going to keep talking and hope it stays on.
Right. It's a good still photo of you. You're a handsome man. So we'll hear your audio.
Staten Island was a tough community, but there were some more problems with gang violence and some other things, but Niagara Falls is quickly catching up in that area. But there were rules in Staten Island. There was a code, and in Niagara Falls, we don't have that kind of code because we're smaller, and people are attacking their own families and everything else sometimes. Every community has had its own set of problems, and we try to address the needs in the community. the peacemakers in our community, that their motto is to meet the needs of the community. And that's kind of what we've always aimed to do, is to focus on the needs in our community, which are different from neighborhood to neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. When you have to move on, will this be one of your best stops ever? I mean, it's hard to say that, but you're from here. I think your mother's from LaSalle. You said you were actually born here. It's got to be a soft spot in your heart for you.
I was born in Boston, Mass, but this is definitely to be able to serve in the very Salvation Army where my mom found the Salvation Army, or where the Salvation Army found her, changed her life. She used to come here every day after school to get away from kind of a rough home life. And the Salvation Army here was in kind of a rough strait when I got here, and it was an honor to be a part of it. So this is going to be that one that I always remember fondly, that I'm always checking in on and always faithfully going back to. Hopefully it'll be one that I get to stay another 10 years. We just don't know in the Salvation Army.
Right. Do you know when you retire from the Salvation Army, do you get to relocate anywhere you want?
Yeah, when you're retired, then you're retired. You kind of, you finally can do what you want. My parents actually served in more appointments after they retired than before they retired, because they got to pick and choose, and they would go in for a couple of months and just help out.
So you never quit. It never leaves your blood.
No, it doesn't leave your blood. You just have more control once you retire.
Yeah. Steve, I know that you have a busy day because you have service at 11, but you go to pick people up, correct? And
Correct.
So I've been trying to get you on for months. I love that you came on. We'll post all kinds of information of where people can help during the holidays, but it's all year round. People don't need help just during the holidays. So,
Absolutely.
Steve Carell, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Well, hopefully you'll come on again. You can't come on just once.
All right. That sounds great. I think we proved that we can make this happen.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Have a great Sunday.
Thank you.
All right, that was Major Steve Carell from the Salvation Army in Niagara Falls, but the Salvation Army, as we just heard, is worldwide, of course. And this is his current stop, and we're glad he's here. And he's from Niagara Falls. How odd is that? I mean, there's no reason he got sent here, and he got sent here because of his work assignment, and he happened to be, his mom was from here. So everybody's from Western New York is our usual contention. So thanks to Steve. We're going to try and reach out to more non-government civics people during the rest of the course of the year. But getting back to government, it's always a busy time in government in November, December, even October, because people are running for office, so that's important. But then they're getting elected to office, which is traumatic. And then the budgets are always due and debated and passed at the same time. On December 5th, I don't care about any of that, frankly, but John Spanbauer does. And John comes on frequently to give us updates. But what I kind of wanted to know from John this morning, and he can talk about many other things, was in any business, you do some benchmarking. You say, well, here's how this year ends, and here's how next year hopefully will go. Here's our goals. We hope we're a better place at the end of 2022 than we were 2021. Not that we're bad, it's just how you do it. You benchmark stuff. So that's what I want to ask him. But then John comes on. This is the best. Let me just say I hate John, so let's take any love out of it. But he just comes on without knowing what we're going to talk about. He says, sure, I'll come on. And that is really, one of those agape unconditional moments. He doesn't care what he's going to get asked. He'll talk about anything. So that doesn't get enough appreciation in the world. Most people need to know exactly what they're going. I have people that will not come on this show unless they know exactly what they're going to be asked. I don't know, because, it's just Sunday. Anyway, there's John. I don't hate you.
Good morning, everyone.
It is admirable that you really never care what the questions are going to be. You just come on and give a government update. I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Well, Tom, I believe in, before I even got elected, the conversations we had, I believe one of the things in most governments, residents aren't informed enough about the operations of local government.
Right.
And when you're not informed, you don't have the knowledge to understand how government works. And I think the more knowledge residents have in the city of Niagara Falls, they may have more of an understanding of the challenges we have in the city. So that's one of the things that as I get more into this, 4-year term, I'm really looking forward in the next 2 years to try to have an opportunity to have meetings and to reach out to the community and hopefully give them more knowledge about how city government works. And what that will do, it will
Yep.
give them a better understanding of city government. Hopefully they'll get more engaged in city government. And the main thing is hopefully they will hold government more accountable, once you have understanding.
Well, I love holding government accountable, but let's flip that on its head for a minute. If we consider ourselves full partners in what you do, and you talk to us all the time, we can know what to do and help. We can help. We can't just criticize all the time. We can help. So if you come on all the time, or people do, or government people do, and tell us, here's where we're going, help us get there. Oh, you don't want to go there? Tell us where else you want to go. Well, then we're having a real dialogue instead of a once a year I hate you dialogue. And that's where we want to get to, where it's a struggle. But I like when you tell us where you're going, it's where we're going together, not where you're taking us. And I love that. I love that part.
And Tom, there's no better example of that. And we're very fortunate. Communities across the country are very fortunate to have these American Rescue Plan funds. And this is a little off topic, but I'll explain. The mayor went out and had, I believe, 6 meetings in the community. And the meetings were open. We had an idea of where we wanted to go with this money, some of the projects we wanted to do, some of the improvements we wanted to make in the city. But for the mayor and his administration to go out into the community and have 6 meetings, some were very well attended, and said, what do you want to see with these funds? And it's going to be, these funds are a once in a lifetime chance to do things that you might not have been able to do. And the community got engaged. Now, will they agree on everything that the city spends the money on? Maybe not, but they've also had an opportunity to be engaged in conversations of where they think some of the funds should go. So that's one of the things when you talk about knowledge and education, I think they were a part of deciding where these funds will go.
Yep. And having said
one
that,
of the things
that's a lot of money.
Talked about,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. And, one of the things, you mentioned about the summary, okay? And you're right up in your email that you sent out notifying about the podcast. You said, well, the city is a business. Okay. So how did we do as a business in 2021?
Yep.
And I agree. You could look at it as business. There's 2 things you want to do as a business. You want to make a profit in a way, and you want to make sure you provide a good quality of service. Okay. When I look at 2021, which you're coming off COVID year, let's start with making a profit. City government is not supposed to make a profit. We should keep our, nonprofit. But it's difficult sometimes in the city of Niagara Falls to even meet our goals of our budget. We were very fortunate in 2021 from a revenue standpoint that our hotel and restaurant sales tax will be probably over the budget that the number we put in. Okay. We're about at 90%. We had 16.5 million budgeted, and we were at 90% of that number at the end of October. So more than likely, we are going to have more than 16.5 million. The other thing is our parking revenues. Again, coming off a COVID year where we're down by 90%. We had 2.3 million budgeted for our parking operations. End of October, we had 2.2 million already in the budget. So those are 2 revenue aspects of city government that are going to be very helpful for us. The other thing is you talk about, how did we do from a quality of life standpoint? I think there were some strides made in improving neighborhoods. Can we do better? You bet we can. But to my knowledge, we had 25 demolitions last year of properties that were just terrible. That may be one of the most demolitions we had in 1 year. Now, I hate to say demolitions are a good thing because you hate to be taking houses down. We want to be putting them up. But we did improve some in neighborhoods where these demolitions took place. So when I look at some of those things, those were the good things of 2021. Now, what were the not so good? You look at, in the 2021 budget, we removed some positions. we did not have any youth programming in 2021 that the city co-sponsored stuff, but we did not open our pools. We did not have after school activities for kids that were city sponsored. We did collaborate with a couple organizations that helped, but the pools were not open in the summer. And we had a stretch in the summer, I think it was 2 weeks, that was very hot and it was tough. You know, we got a lot of criticism for not having those services for our children. And that was one of the tough things. Crime was an issue in 2021. Okay. And, you know, we all know that. You know, the good thing about that is I believe our police chief, one of the positive things that came out of 2021 is our police chief basically worked with other organizations. And, you know, we did a couple of police blitz that I think helped with reducing crime after these police blitz took place. And if you've looked at the city, and I'm going to knock on wood, in the last 6 months, we've been a lot better than the first 6 months. And I do attribute it to, we did take a couple of the bad apples off the streets, you know, and if you talk to anyone in law enforcement, they will tell you it's a handful of people that create 90% of the problems when it comes to serious crimes, especially in the city of Niagara Falls. So, you know, that was one of, you know, those are coming in some of the negative things of 2021. Overall, you know, I think we got through the year good. We will not know about the budget until February, really, when all the numbers come in. That's where we'll find out how we actually did overall with the budget.
Mm-hmm. You know what I like? Well, I don't like, but I think you're in a situation, you being a government person, where the whole country is a disaster. COVID reset the bar. And so we don't have to compete necessarily with good and bad, Branson, Missouri anymore. Like it wiped, like a tornado, it wiped everything flat. And we can, I hate build back better because that makes it sound political, but I do like that phrase. You know, we can start from scratch because everybody's starting from scratch. And then there's the old investment thing. If you put all the money in the world in the middle of a pot, probably within 10 years, the same people would acquire it again, you know? So I don't want to come out of this flat surface where everybody's equal, the same place we were for the last 50 years. So you have a chance. I'm like dead set in your corner. Whatever you suggest might be the wackiest thing in the world, but you got me 100% no matter what, like for another year or two, because it's a level playing field. If you suggest that we should, you know, paint everything purple, you know, Niagara University, nice color, nice fleece, I buy it right now, because whatever wacky idea you have might be it. You know, like, do you feel that way? Do you feel some hope and joy?
I have hope, and I've always said it. I mean, I'm still scared for Niagara Falls as a city and us moving forward. Until we get more good job opportunities, until we extend our tourist season, until we, you know, are not a city where we have the poverty level that is currently in place. I fear for Niagara Falls for its future, but I do believe this administration is bringing some new thought processes in. I believe with this new council coming in that I'm looking forward to working with greatly. I believe with Ken Tompkins being 6 years experience on the council, he will be a guy I will still look to for advice and suggestions, because it's nice to have 2 years experience. I feel totally different now than I did when I started. I feel like I know what I'm doing versus when I first started, but having 4 more years of experience than I do, it will be an asset to myself and also all the other councilmen. And I also want to give kudos to Frank Soda, who has been a great teacher for me, leaning on him as a very knowledgeable person in government and coming on to the city council for really a short period of time and really having an impact on all the councilmen. So I'd like to give a shout out to Frank. You know, when we look at 2022 and you ask, well, what can we do? You know, I think the one thing that's pretty amazing is and I think I'm very fortunate to be a part of it, is to be able to spend $56 million to improve the city of Niagara Falls. You know, got to remember, we got $250 million from casino revenues that people will say, well, what did you really do with it? Yeah, we reduced taxes with it, no doubt, for a while. We did a couple things, but people say, well, show me what happened. I think this $56 million that we will be getting, and the presentation the mayor made, will have an impact for many years to come as we move forward with this city. So that is going to be an exciting time for the city to get this money and use it to enhance the quality of life for our community. Also, to make many improvements in city facilities, city vehicles, city parks, that we would never have the opportunity to do with our budget situation in the city. A couple programs when you talk about goals for 2022, one that will not be popular, but I believe is needed, and I am going to push forward, and I've already got pushback from community members that I've talked about, is a full reassessment of the city property. We have to do it. And I don't think there's been political will to do it in this, in this city by politicians. But I think we have, the incoming candidates have all talked about supporting a reassessment. And I think it's time we do it. Not having a full reassessment since 2004, and with all the professionals, when you talk about the state controller's office, the own city's financial advisory board, and anyone that knows anything about assessment has said, you have to do a reassessment to bring that non-homestead and homestead closer together. So that is something I'm going to be pushing for in 2022. Now, it won't happen to 2024 if we get it through and everything, but that's one of the things I'll be pushing for.
Well, let me just ask, what's the modus for that? Like, do you put a piece of legislation in and pass it in the city council, which starts the process? How does that happen?
Right. Well, we'll start it. Well, I actually have a draft of a resolution already ready to go. But we get it through. We have to vote it through. It'll be just like any other resolution.
3-2 or 4-1? 3-2 or 4-2?
It could be 3-2. Hopefully it's 5-0, which would be a great. If it was 5-0, that means everyone supports it in a city leadership role.
Yeah. No, I just meant sometimes some things are 4-1. It must be, or it must be. I didn't know if there was a rule. This had to be.
No, this would be a 3-2, and then we would push it forward. And then there's a lot of work to do after it's even approved. So it's like a 2-year process before there's a full reassessment done. And the cost, what I've been told, the cost could be anywhere between $700,000 to $800,000. And one of the things I'm going to push for is, from my research, and I believe I'm right, a reassessment it'll improve the equity in the city among residents. And what I mean by that is we have some properties assessed in the city, and I have a family member that bought a house a couple of years ago. The house is assessed at $120,000. He spent $250,000 for it. Okay. Now we have people who have a house where I grew up at that's worth about $20,000, but it's assessed at $50,000. So people with lower income sometimes are penalized by us not doing a reassessment. They're getting taxed too much for the values of their home. So one of the things a reassessment does will equal the playing field for assessed values of houses. Right now, it's unequal, and I believe the people who have less income are getting penalized with us not doing a reassessment. So that's one of the things I'm looking at doing. And another thing I would like to see done, and I've had a little conversation about this, there's a lot of revenue to be made in downtown Niagara Falls in regards to our parking meters and violations of parking rules and regulations. Currently, our Niagara Falls Police Department is the ones that their traffic division will ticket cars downtown. But very often, that's not their major responsibility. They have other things to worry about than looking at parking meters and seeing if people are paid up. But in any city, any tourist city, they have, you can call them parking ambassadors, call them whatever you want, but they have civilians doing that. I've had a talk with the administration. I've mentioned it to a couple of police officers. I would love to see us create a pilot program, run it 1 or 2 years, let civilians write tickets for parking violations in the downtown area from April to September. Create a little parking, I'd like to call them parking ambassadors, where let's say they're scheduled for 10 hours a day, 2 5-hour shifts, you pay them $15 an hour, and they're down there being ambassadors for the tourists walking around. They're identifiable by some type of uniform, but they're also looking at the parking meters and parking violations, and they write tickets. And I believe we can generate enough revenue to support the cost of the staffing and even make more that might help. Additional revenue could help the police department or wherever you want to designate it. Now that would be something. It sounds like, oh, well, why don't you do it? It's a contractual thing with the Niagara Falls Police Department that we'd have to work with them, and they would have to say, okay, let's do it, and let's agree to these terms to do it. You know,
That's what I was just going to ask. So it's not so simple because it's in the police contract that they have to do it and they won't give it up unless they get something back. This is negotiation. This is how it happens. So your job as councilman is not as simple as I have a good idea. We can make more money. We can have ambassadors. It can all grind to a halt because it's wrapped up in red tape.
Exactly. But, and I'm hoping this could be a win-win situation. Let's just say we generate, after we take expenses of the parking ambassadors out, let's say we generate $300,000 in income, which I don't think that's unrealistic. You know, let's say, you know, here's what we'll do. And that's why I say pilot program. I think it's got to be ran as a 1 or 2 year program. Give it a chance and let's see what, and let's just say if we make 300,000 more than we've currently made, and you look at your historic data and see what we've done each year, let's give the police officers let's give the police department another police officer from this extra revenues we made, because they do need more police officers. So it's one of those things that it's on the base. It's just been talked about a little. There's been no, you know, set proposal, but that's one of the things I'm going to look at. I'm going to look at sitting down with the administration, present it to them, and see if there's any merit in moving it forward. And I believe there is merit. You know, I believe there's a lot of merit in that. So
how fast can things like that move? Like, you know, January, February, March, we're into tourist season now. Can you have it done by then? Or is this a 10-year study that we dick around with? I mean,
I would think I'm going to sit down with the administration in January and see where we can go with this. Now, Tom, it could be as simple as they may have talked to the police union. They said, John, they don't even want to entertain it. And that could be it. It could be done, you know, the day I meet with the administration and talk about it, you know. Yeah. So now if it's something they want to entertain, it could be sitting down at the table. Okay, what are we going to get out of it if we give it up? But here's the thing with it. And you know, I think the unions are reasonable, and I understand why they have certain things. You know, the last thing they want to do is have civilians come in and we say, oh, we're good, this is beneficial for both of us. And all of a sudden we start cutting positions because we don't think we need people writing traffic tickets. That's the last thing we want to do. And I think that would have to be a guarantee to the union. Because we do this, we're not going to eliminate any jobs for a while. So there's, you know, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, there's got to be a lot of discussion about that. But other municipalities do it. So I don't see any reason why we can't try to do it. And like I said, a pilot program. I don't care if we try it for 1 year, 2 years, and then we do an evaluation and see how it works.
Yeah. Hey, let me just ask really practically. I didn't read everything. Well, I did. I don't remember everything that's in the $47 million aid package and how you're going to spend it. But one thing that was new streetlights. And I even have them on my street. It's noticeably brighter. LED lights. Like, that was announced. I think I read it Friday, which I don't know why that was a Friday night news dump. You know, you should have done that on Monday morning. You didn't do it at all. I know the administration did. But I mean, that's big news. I mean, Friday night, nobody's reading the paper. Anyway, how soon will I have a brighter light on 3rd Street? Like, boom.
So here's the thing. And the city's been looking at streetlights for years.
Right. I mean, I want a street light tomorrow.
And I've got to tell you, I look at many other municipality budgets. 2 of them this year in their budget talked about, they implemented streetlights in the last couple of years, and they talked about how they're saving over $300,000 to $400,000 a year in their streetlight costs. So think of that, you know. So I got to believe there's been talk about this. I'm not exactly sure how it will be implemented, but I believe that this administration wants to get this done as soon as possible. And the money is there to get it done now, where before it was, where are you going to take money to do the streetlights?
I thought
This,
I thought you had to pay that money out like in 12 months. Like the 47's got to be gone, right? I think there was some.
no, what happened, so in May of 2021, we got half the funds. So we got like 23 million. In May, and I think I'm right on this, in May of 2022, we will get the remainder of it. By end of budget year 2024, all the money has to be dedicated to be spent. Dedicated now. Remember what I say. So let's just say we have a fire truck we're purchasing for $1 million. If the order is in, that's dedicated, it has to be all spent by 2026. So, and here's the thing, when you talk, like I use that example as a fire department, because one of the things when the mayor presented us, I think we're looking at 3 firefighting vehicles. Tom, other municipalities are doing the same thing we're doing.
Right.
I've seen it in Troy. I've seen it. They're all buying fire trucks, something that's a major. So think about, I don't know how many fire truck manufacturers there are.
Yeah.
I got to believe there's going to be a backlog,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm just looking at New York State of people that are buying, you know, fire truck. So I got to believe, you know, you got to put your order in. It's going to be a backlog to get those finally produced.
Yeah.
So
But
that's my own opinion.
I agree. That was a great explanation, by the way. Thank you, because you can't just order a fire truck and have it delivered tomorrow. They're not down at Fusillo Chevrolet.
No.
But streetlights seem to be, you know, like, and like the broken window theory of fixing, you know, I would just feel better about myself if the streetlight was on, you know, I mean, that's a simple low hanging fruit.
Tom, you know, and I think one of the great programs that were introduced. So we have some community development programs in this, you know, and when the mayor presented us, it was presented. I was surprised that there were very few people there. Okay. I thought this was one of the most exciting things that the city has happened to the city in many years, you know. So we have to get the word out about what the money is being spent for. And we still have people that could come forward and say, well, I think you should do it for this, do it for that. But investment in the community. One of the things the mayor has presented is businesses will have the opportunity to apply for funds for closed circuit TV cameras or cameras to be put on their business. And I believe what he's going to do is he's already priced out, you know, the camera systems, and he will say, okay, we will give you this much money. You make an agreement and you will be able to get this camera system. Now, if you want to go higher and a better quality, you could do that, but here's how much we're funding. Now, I wish we didn't have to do that, but one of the reasons that you do that, crime deterrent, you know, we all know cameras do so much to help. How do I say this? Help. Let's just say people fall in a store and they want to sue you. You know, there's very often cameras have helped say, oh, that's a false allegation, you know. So having cameras in businesses on the outside of business, I think is a great initiative. And I think it's a great use of these funds that we would never be able to do that before.
So, you know, when I go to other cities, you see signs for CCTV, maybe that's Europe, I don't know where, you know, but you see these things. Or, you know, Nashville had that bomb explode, right? And you see that they have video of every single inch of the city. Do we have that? I don't mean to, you know, like pry into, oh my God, we don't, but I don't want to get security breaches here. But if I'm on Old Fall Street, walking in front of the New Culinary Institute, and I do something stupid, or I, you know, don't we have video of it? I mean, like, we're all on camera anywhere. I don't want to, the reason that comes to mind is you don't need to make a deal with Barnes and Noble to do something. Doesn't the government just do it? Like, aren't I just on camera on Fall Street?
Well, I don't think we have them all over the city, but here's what's going to happen. Part of this initiative for the lighting program is to have smart city technology, which means we will be putting more cameras on intersections, areas of the city. So I know that's part, when we talk about lighting, it's not just lighting, it's a matter of putting installation of smart city. And I'll tell you, some of the things I've heard about these smart city technology, one of the things one of the firefighters was telling me, if they're going down Pine Avenue, let's just say we had it, they can change the lights to be all green for the fire truck going down Pine Avenue where they turn red.
Mm-hmm.
on the intersection so people don't come through. That's one of the things smart technology can do. And I'm not saying we're getting that, but it's amazing what the technology can do to assist the city and what you were talking about. And you don't want to be going to anyone's private space, but having cameras in public space, I think is a good thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think if you announce that, not even announced, if all the streetlights were good on January 1st, we would feel so good about ourselves, like that's just one tangible thing. The whole 47 million, the fire trucks would be forgotten about if bright lights all of a sudden appeared. We'd love you. Right. We do love you.
No, anyway. And it's the quality of life thing. And again, the quality of life for our residents. Forget just normal city government operations, which I think normal city operations in the next 2 years, our quality of life for our residents in this city is going to get better. But now add a $56 million investment that is going to, I don't want to say transform the city, but what it's going to do, Tom, it's going to be something like you just said. Instead of walking out of your house, if you live in an area where there's a light and it's a dim, it's going to be nice and bright. And we all know lightness enhances, the environment where you live, where you work, where you play.
I think these are real simple things this year that we kind of, brought to light, no pun intended, is the lighting, grass maintenance, snow plowing in the winter, curbs that work, sidewalks that aren't broken. It's stupid stuff, but I think it matters.
Well, it does matter, Tom. And you know what? I was talking with someone the other day, and we were talking about, I was talking with a community advocate, and when people become mayor, so let's look at Mayor Restaino. Did he go to school to become a mayor? Did I go to school to become a councilman? No. You learn from experience. Our mayors had 2 years. The first year, the COVID year, no one would ever, how do you govern during a COVID year? No one had ever experienced that. So I still believe that this administration and this council is still young and green. And I believe this administration, after 2 years, you're going to see more done in the next 2 years. And, one of the real positive initiatives I've seen this mayor present is Centennial Park with the talk about putting an arena downtown. Now, again, we all know, Tom, and I know you're hard on the city sometimes. We've had plans. We've had all kinds of plans over the year. But maybe something will finally come through when we say we're going to try something. Maybe it will happen. Maybe the Centennial Park concept that is supported by a number of people. And again, we still need to get funding. It can't be a government ran operated. It's got to be government, private, hopefully Senecas get involved. That is something that, who knows, in 5-10 years from now, we may have an arena downtown Niagara Falls. And when I say an arena that can support big concerts. I went to Riviera Theater last night to watch a Motown Christmas show. They were sold out. And I don't know what Riviera Theater holds. And the tickets weren't cheap. Like, I spent $47 for the ticket. They were sold out. I'm sitting there looking at that venue, and I'm saying, man, if we could have this in downtown Niagara Falls, not only for the summertime, but also for residents in the off season. But those are, dreams, and you hope that we can get there at some point.
Well, you're driving me to this point, but it's Christmas and I want to be very happy. I'm only going to be upbeat. I promised myself I'm only going to be upbeat, but here's that, my heart on the city for that. We had an arena. We gave it away more than 20 years ago. We don't have an arena anymore. My life is ending. I don't want to wait 40 more years. So when I say I want streetlights, fixed by like January, I'll feel good. I don't want a promise of arena 30 years later. Like what can I do next month? And it can be streetlights. Let's talk about arena someday. Economics, you can't live for today. You have to plan for tomorrow. I get all that. But I really would like to try and focus on today, tomorrow, in the really close hanging fruit of streetlights, grass, plowing, sidewalks. Don't kill me. Let's not have a tourist car broken into. Let's have video if the tourist car is broken into, a clear video of it. That seems to be doable. Whether the genius society that wants an arena can ever figure it out, thank God. Let's worry about that later. But you and me on the street, what can we do? You know, so that's the only part I bristle on.
Well, you hit on two things. You talk about the day-to-day life of a resident of Niagara Falls. When you talk about blight, getting lawns cut, then we talk about the future of Niagara Falls with investments such as an arena. So you say, well, you don't want to wait. You want to see it tomorrow.
No, I didn't quite say that. I didn't
not for the arena. I'm saying
I want to work tomorrow. I want to work on something. The arena's 30 years in the making, John. Oh my God. So
no, but here's what I'm saying, and I'll get to my point about the arena. Let's say Tom Christie was a multi-billionaire and wanted to take a chance with Niagara Falls and this arena idea he supported. Guess what? You could come into the mayor's office tomorrow, talk to our state representatives. I believe if you were ready to spend and design an arena and you thought it was profitable, we would do it as soon as possible. But we need that private investment. We need that private investment to come through. We just can't rely on government to make the renaissance for this city. We need to get more private investment.
Oh, I just want to agree with you and be friends.
I know you want. I know you're hard on the city, and Tom, and I appreciate. No, I'm not hard on the city.
We're at ground zero, right? Everybody. The tornado wiped out. COVID wiped out the world. We're all starting from the same spot. The problem with what you just said to me, the frustration for me, is that it has become so de rigueur, so absolutely. In our culture now, that the government has to give money to me, a billionaire, to do all those things you said. No, I'm just a billionaire. I was watching a 1947 movie last night. The billionaire who was building a skyscraper in Manhattan didn't get government money. He just did it. You buy low, sell high, whatever. Now, that billionaire developer to build anything requires all kinds of government tax breaks and money and investment. I don't know how we got there. That's not your problem or my problem or even the billionaire developer's problem. We're not in a good place when we have to buy off developers and compete them against each other. Let the developer build it. I'm okay with that. So let's not go there.
Well, what you're saying is basically it's a culture now. I mean, why should a private developer come in and not ask for money when they know there's something to be had? And I agree with you. I wish it wasn't like that. But then, and that's one of those things. There's two sides to that. We don't get the development if we don't help out.
Well, John, we are making progress together. I want to hug you. So, Jerry Jones built that Texas stadium himself. He didn't wait for any money, and he collects all the money that's coming in, and he's a billionaire. Now, you watch the Sabres, not quite the Bills, but you watch the Sabres. They can't attract talent. You have to overpay to get anyone to play here. So, yes, a billionaire developer like Jerry Jones would not build an arena in Niagara Falls unless he got it paid for by the government. We need to turn that on its head. We need to make it just okay. And I don't know how to do that. I need your help. You need my help. Let's fix it. But yes, that's where we are now. We can't do it without that, but it's not working.
And Tom, I know we don't have a lot of time left, so I just want to touch on two things that are concerns of our residents. One, and I don't know if you follow this story, it's been kind of big in Niagara Falls. So the New York State Department of Transportation is talking about and is providing a plan that's going to change Walnut Avenue and Ferry Avenue to, currently they're both one-way streets with 2 lanes. They're talking about changing it to 1 lane with a bike path, some bump out. So for our residents, many of them who travel those streets, it's a big issue. The Department of Transportation, and people don't realize this, they've been doing a study since 2015 on those 2 streets. And the reason they've been doing this study, they found out the traffic accidents at the intersections of those 2 streets are higher than the state average. So they've looked at these and say, okay, what can we do to reduce them? So I mention this because residents who have concerns about the Department of Transportation's ideas and thoughts, the DOT is doing a presentation in City Hall on December 7th at 5:30, where they're going to have people there. They're going to present their plan and they're going to take community feedback. And I think it's a great opportunity for residents who are concerned to have an opportunity to get information from the Department of Transportation on why they're doing this, what the benefits will be, what the negative things may be. So I wanted to mention that because I think it's turning those two streets into one ways is kind of a historic move for the city of Niagara Falls. The other thing I want to mention, and you know, we talk about goals for 2022. For the 2 years I've been in office, when December comes around, all you can hear people talk about is the old Festival of Lights. You know, the Festival of Lights parade. We have a couple community advocates that really want to make a push to get the Festival of Lights parade and the Festival of Lights back in. And one of them is Sean Levesque. He's a local person who's a community advocate. And what I like about Sean, it's not a government initiative. It's got to be a community initiative. You know, so he wants the government support, but he wants to take an initiative to get this Festival of Lights back. And one of the things I'm going to be an advocate for is trying to help a group of people that want to do this and try to bring some type of Festival of Lights back to the city of Niagara Falls. I think, you know, let's start on a small scale. I don't care if it's, you know, from 3rd Street in Maine to 3rd Street in Buffalo Avenue, but something small. But I think having that come back and hearing the stories of how people love that event, we need to try to do something to bring it back, you know.
Well, John, I can't thank you enough for always coming. I really appreciate it because the updates from you are different than from anyone else because you're one of only 5 council people. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And then even after today, think before we talk again of any way that you can make us all want to help. Or no, we all do want to help. You know, the little things, the big things, we're here in your corner. And we don't expect that you have all the answers or anything else, but we want to help in some way. Let's work together somehow.
You know, Tom, and here's what I'm going to tell you. We've already had conversations with the incoming council people, and all of us agree we want to get out more in the community. And the thing is, you got to remember, we used to have a council in the community our first year. You know, we go out 4 times a year, but that was stopped because of COVID. And I think a lot of people forgot about that. But we are going to get back out in the community, this council, and have public presentations about city government and take questions and field, you know, presentations if people want to talk about community. So I think this council is going to be more active in getting out in media. I could see right now 1 council member a month being on your show. I could see something like that. And I like your format. You just say, let's talk about anything. And, you know, it's a great opportunity to talk about anything. You know?
I hope you're right. I hope they do come on. And I will keep saying all the time that you don't have all the answers. You are here to help, not here to direct. And if the other new council people, it's got to be fear. It's a scary thing to talk in public. It's a scary thing to field questions because you're going to get a question I don't know the answer to. We don't know the answers. Just admit it, like we're working through it. So that'd be fantastic. Right. I'd love it. So, John, thanks. What are you doing on Sunday? There's no Bills game. Frank Soto would be watching the Browns game, right? Frank's going to be watching the Browns game.
Well, I got to tell you, last night I mentioned about going to that Riviera Theater. Me and my wife had tickets for like 4 months. Then we all of a sudden threw a family Christmas party together at the last moment, like within a week. A couple of my relatives came from out of town. So me and my wife had to leave the family party. And we got in the car and said, should we go? We don't get together a whole lot as a family. So we drove there for a half hour, watched part of the show, came back. But I'm going to spend some time going up to the NU game with my brother from Cortland. And
who do they play?
My other brother.
Who do they play? NU.
You know, I don't know who they play. I haven't looked at the schedule. My brother's a basketball coach in Cortland, so anytime he comes home, we're actually going to go to the Niagara University game and then go to the Niagara Community College game. So it's a basketball day today.
Oh, good.
So
well,
John, if I don't talk to you, a great holiday.
Thank you. We're going to talk, but we should do that more often too, because, you know, we always think Bills games, Sabres game, there's NU games, there's NCCC games, there's lots of local activity. We should talk more about that too, because COVID also kind of taught us we don't need to go to London to have fun. It's all, we need to be here. We need to be
Oh,
here.
Tom, I could tell you the experience, being I'm kind of supporting a school that I graduated from and worked for 32 years at. The Niagara University experience, it's a Division I program. The men's and women's basketball games are fun to go to. The hockey game is fun to go to. So local athletics, if you're an athletic person, doesn't matter if you go to D1 games, go to Buff State Community College, go to UB, go to Uville. There's a lot of activities here for people who are sports oriented and want to see college sports. They're fun to watch and they're good athletes.
We're only going to Niagara Falls, John. You mentioned too many. You strayed too far from the topic. NUNCCC.
Why?
Yeah.
We got to get people from Buffalo into Niagara Falls.
Right.
And Tom, one last thing. The Niagara Falls firefighters held a toy-thon yesterday. What a great effort they do in supporting the families in Niagara Falls that may not have a Christmas if it wasn't for their dedication to supporting families in need. So I'd like to put a shout out to the Niagara Falls Fire Department and the people who make that happen. I'm going to have to get more plugged in so that we tout those things. We mention those things because those are what communities are all about. We should mention those more often. So thank you. All right, John, we got to go, man. That's it. Okay. Good talking to you.
All right. Always a pleasure. Thanks, John. Have a great Sunday. All right. Thanks for watching Sunday Civics. We really appreciate your support. We'll be back next week. Have a good week.